everybody. So, welcome to Hallmarkies podcast. And I'm really excited because we have The Way Home season 3 is coming up. Can't wait for it. It's going to be super fun. And I got the opportunity to participate in a virtual junket with the stars of The Way Home. And so, if you go over to the YouTube channel, you can see the video. I was actually in New York when we filmed it, so that's kind of unique. I was at Jack's house, staying over there, and I was able to film the junket interviews from her house. So it's sort of amazing. First set of interviews questions are with Chyler Leigh and Evan Williams. And then I had Sadie Laflamme-Snow and Andie MacDowell. And like I said, if you go over to the YouTube channel, you can actually see the different people being interviewed. But if you're just listening to the audio, that's kind of what's going on with this. So I hope you enjoy it, and let me know what you think about all the things we talked about.
Ho, ho, ho. We'd like to take a second and thank our sponsor for this episode of the podcast. It's the Hallmarkies Patreon.
Do you love Hallmarkies podcast, especially at Christmas?
Do you enjoy the holiday previews, recaps, interviews, and bonus episodes?
If the answer is yes, please consider supporting the Hallmarkies Patreon. We need your help to do what we do both during the Christmas season and all year round.
But not only do you help a podcast led by strong, independent women by becoming a Patreon, you get to become a part of the Hallmarkies family.
Starting at only $2 a month as a patron, you will have access to our Facebook Patreon group where we talk about the movies, shows, and more all year.
We also have many monthly patron watch-alongs with guests like Lacey Chabert, Natalie Hall, Paul Campbell, Mary Lou Henner, and more, giving their behind-the-scenes details of their films.
As a patron, you also have the chance to provide input into the podcast and even join us at different tiers.
So this Christmas season, spread some cheer to the Hallmarkies Patreon and become a member today. You won't regret it.
Go to patreon.com/Hallmarkies to learn more.
That's patreon.com/Hallmarkies.
So first up in the interviews, we have Chyler Leigh and Evan Williams.
Hey, so the first question that I had for you is did the scripts for Kat and Elliot surprise you in season 3?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. Big surprises.
Full of surprises.
Full of surprises. They get presented with a lot more challenges this season. But it really tests their strength and endurance and, their commitment to each other in however that presents itself.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah,
not guilty. There's a lot of growth that happens in many different ways this season between the two of them.
I think the show's really good at showing us all the different sides of love and what love means. It's one of the central themes of this show. And I think one of the things about love is that it can't stay on an island. It doesn't stay. As soon as there's stasis, it stops living. Yeah. And so we see development and also new paradigms that we didn't expect too. I think that both Kat and Elliot are given unexpected circumstances, and we get to see both who they are and also how they love each other through it.
Mm-hmm. Evan, were you surprised that Elliot got to time travel in season 2?
Yeah, well, I was both surprised and not surprised because I had been lobbying so hard. I just stopped just short of slipping notes under the door of our showrunners, but they knew that. I mean, it's a time travel show, right? Like, you want to time travel, like it's the coolest thing ever, and I was thrilled to be able to actually get to do that at the end of season 2, and also to do it for such a good reason too, like being able to share 5 more minutes with the father that I never had. Like it was really important for me, and also for Jefferson, who plays Colton, to be able to share that. And I got a lot of messages from a lot of different fans too. I think that was something that really touched people. So I hope that it went well enough that they will allow it to happen more and more and more and more.
He just wants to jump in the pond. That's all.
Yeah. Well, we figured eventually they'd want to start wearing dry release quick dry clothes.
Yeah.
Not jeans.
Right. Well, that's actually, I'll just say this really briefly, is we do have those conversations in wardrobe of kind of like, okay, it's getting colder out, in reality, it's freezing. So when we come out and we're fully clothed, it's like, how can we kind of not cheat things a little bit, but cheat things a little bit.
Cheat thing.
Yeah.
Like wearing dark pants, like wearing dark jeans, because then we don't have to wet the pants down so that, if it's
Oh.
right after we got out of the water, then we don't have to keep re-wetting that. Or like jackets, they came up with like this really cool silicone material that we could put on the jacket so that when it's post pond, but we're still supposed to look wet, we can
Mhm.
kind of get away with that without having to actually be wet when it's
Oh.
really cold outside. So there's little tricks, that we've had to come up with to make it tolerable.
Yeah, yeah. Kyler, do you have a favorite of the main time periods as far as to do scenes in?
I see him looking at me. He wants me to say any time period that Elliot slash Evan is in.
No.
Um, I love you. Um, you know, I love I love the between the 1800s and the current, because Kat did spend time in 99, but I feel like that was so kind of truncated in those times for her to understand about Colton and what happened in the car crash and all that stuff. But initially, I was concerned when I knew that I was going to be going back to the 1800s, because I was like, yeah, but I have my family over here, my family of actors, but also my family of characters. Like, we're over here. What's it going to be like? And now I got to go over there by myself and I got to do all this stuff. But all of the actors that I worked with in the 1800s and the sets were just magnificent, that it felt like I got to be on two different TV shows with the same heartbeat.
Mhm.
It's like if I had twin babies. It was gritty and dirty and, yet still beautiful and rustic in the 1800s, got that danger feeling to it. And the characters were just so unique. Um, that it created a whole new experience for me. So I feel like I kind of really won the lottery in this case, because I did get to go back and forth, and to see Cat, like a present day Cat in the 1800s, using like modern, terminology and words like that they wouldn't have expected at that time, for a woman to be so strong and so forward and whatnot. Like it was great to be Cat's boisterous self
Yeah.
in the 1800s. Like it was fun.
It's great to see that side of Kat as well, like the
Mhm.
swashbuckling adventure hero thing. It really
Yeah.
looks good on you too. Like I think it really plays to Kyler's strengths as an actor as well. Like you have that kind of range, so it's cool to be able to use it.
Okay, modern day, any scene and every scene with Evan slash Elliot is my favorite.
Yeah. Do you
I didn't
have
ask
your
for it, but
own do you have your own theories as you're filming that okay, we think this might be where it's going?
they keep us in the dark half the time, so we're always
Probably
like,
better
"What?"
that way.
Yeah.
Well, we do. We'll sit there and literally just go, wait, okay, I don't understand. Who's this person? How did this work? But we try to solve it just as much as I think the fans do.
Hmm.
In moments that, especially things that have come up in season 3, where we always joke saying it's like the more answers we get, the more questions, surface.
Hmm.
And so we get to see a lot of that this season, which I'm really excited about. But we have had to theorize so much and just like either really genuinely congratulate ourselves if we figure something out, or just kind of throw your hands up and just say, all right, well, just, tell me where to stand because I'm in,
Yeah.
like I'm ready.
Yeah. There's a big cliff between there's like what we know and then what we don't know after that. And so for what we know, since it's a time travel show, it's a little bit like what's it, like a Rube Goldberg machine where they have the ball that goes through it and it just kind of like the machine keeps going. And a time travel show, it's like that. But if anything is off, if you miss a beat, the whole thing falls apart. Like you can
Mm,
break the rules and the whole show, like we're literally you can break the show and it just won't make sense anymore. And so because of that, the show has to be really specific and
hmm.
really intentionally written. And
Yes,
so
intentionally
when we
true.
know the things that we are supposed to know, like for me, I write I do like a literal physical map that's like through time and it's inscrutable. Only my brain will
He's
understand it.
shown me once and I was like, it looks like math. I'm
Yeah,
out.
it's very strange, but that's what I need to be able to know that I confidently know where we are and where we are in the story. Beyond that, the writers are pretty cagey. Like they don't want the unknowns to bleed into the knowns in our performances. And so
Yeah.
that's one of the cool things also about the show is
We discover it in
we're
real time.
discovering it, and we'll discover it a little sooner than the audience because we have to shoot it. But there's still so much fertile ground for the imagination to play, and that's one of the cool things about this show. It's just so rad.
Well, if you were going to give a quick 1-minute pitch to somebody, or a quick pitch to somebody who had never watched the show, what would you say? Why should they tune in?
You do it, please.
I would say that the show is entirely unique in the way that it is a time travel show without being a sci-fi show. And I've tried to make the term cry-fi work before, but it hasn't caught on. I don't know why. But it basically is examining the beating heart of a family through the medium of time travel. And so we're getting this emotionally centered, very complex, very rewarding drama while also having this amazing mind-bending time travel element, which is involves mystery and involves loss and the depth of the human experience that is, I think, totally unique to Hallmark Channel and probably unique to television in general. I've never seen a show like it.
Yeah, very good.
Next in the interviews, we have Sadie Laflamme-Snow and Andie MacDowell.
So much for taking time to talk with us. And I was just curious, so did the scripts for Alice and Dell surprise you for season 3?
Absolutely. Okay. No, absolutely. Yeah, I remember a couple months before we started shooting, I got on a call with our showrunners and our writers and talked about kind of where we were headed. And I was already so excited, but then when we got the initial script, I was even more shocked. I think the way that episode 1 ends is a completely new way that we see the pond being used. And it definitely made me really excited to see, you think you've kind of explored all the options, and then to have things turn on its head like that, it's very exciting.
Yeah, yeah. Andie, is it easy to feel the family chemistry on the show, or is that something you all have to kind of work to develop?
Oh, I think it's pretty easy. I think everybody's such a professional too, that you show up with your character in mind. I think, I've carried Dale around with me since the beginning. So it's always a part of the atmosphere, and people recognize that. They recognize that we carry our characters with us. And so I think it's a really, it's fun, and we're all doing it because we love to do it. It's what our a dream come true is to be able to have a cast like this and a crew and creative venue to be able to play, to do what we love to do, which is create characters. We're just all appreciative of each other and the opportunity to work together and have wonderful material. And I think what the first question is, I think everybody is all the fans are on edge waiting to know what's going to happen when Jacob walks through that door.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. We're very excited. Yeah. So Sadie, do you prefer the scenes 1999 or the current times?
At first, I think playing like in the beginning of the show back in season 1, I think sometimes the present day scenes were more pressure in a way, because Alice was she was so hurt by everything going on with her parents, and she didn't really know Dell. She couldn't really be herself. So kind of trying to play a person that isn't being themselves when you're just getting to know them in the first place. I remember finding that when she got to go back in time and just be a totally awestruck teenager in the 90s, it was easier to find who at the core Alice really was. And now I feel like I have a better sense of it, and it's more in relationship to her family in the present day. So there isn't sort of a preference, but rather just a really strong place to come home to, in a sense. In a way, I know what to expect with the scenes in the present day because we're so familiar with each other. But that also means that that you can go so far with those relationships because they're so profound and so complex that anything can happen, and you can take it to a really interesting emotional place and a really complex place, and that's always really exciting. And then being in the past is, of course, magical, and it's interesting to play the lie of sort of where she's actually from and how she fits into that time travel world. And I love that challenge as well. So I love them equally.
Do you think we're ready to see Dell time travel? Get in the pond?
I don't think we can go there. I don't know. Here's what I find interesting about what Dell has to play in comparison to Kat and Alice is the fear of the pond, the fear of the unknown, because it's not something that she's done, and holding them, I don't think she loves them going in the pond. That to me, that was interesting to play. And whether she goes in the pond, it would have to be something really that would pull her heartstrings. It would have to be something really big to pull her heartstrings to get her to go in the pond. And we'll just have to wait to see if there's ever a day where there'll be something where she definitely knows she has to go.
Yeah. Do you have your own theories of kind of where things are heading, or do you just leave that up to the writers?
I don't have any. They do everything. I just wait. Occasionally, I'll give my 2 cents about things that things that are going to happen. I might tell them my thoughts on things, but I have no idea. They're very highly creative. They're coming up with all these concepts. Unbelievable concepts. It's all their magic.
Mm-hmm. What about you, Sadie? Do you have any ideas of kind of, I bet they're going this way?
I think what's so great about getting to do 3 seasons of a show is that you have little wishes for your character, maybe like I've always, wished for a scene where we could bring a particular thing up, or where we'd find ourselves in a particular type of situation, and you kind of hope, I'd love to go there with that person or that character or that sort of theme that we have in our show, and I really hope I'll get the chance. And what's exciting with this show is that our writers and creators and everyone who's in charge of that sort of world building and storytelling is so in tune with us as actors and people and our characters and what's important to us. And so in a lot of ways, the little wishes that I've had for Alice are coming to be in this season. I hope that's aligned with what the audience is wishing for her as well. But in a lot of ways, I think it'll be sort of a subversion of expectations too, because we have wants for our characters that challenge our the audience's perceptions of our characters too. So I think that can be really exciting.
Yeah. If you were going to give a pitch to somebody who had never watched the show before of what makes it special, what would you say? What about you, Andie? What would you say?
It's multi-generational women, 3 generations. So everybody will have somebody that they can relate to. But there is this magic that happens that it will touch into your own creative ideas. It's something that will touch your own dreams and desires. Things that you've dreamt of doing your whole life will come true for you, and you can live it through these characters. That's the magic. It's the magic of the pond. And I think they also recreated that magic by bringing Colton back for Dale. That's been my most favorite. The most fun I've had, I think, has definitely been those particular scenes, because it has the same magic as it's like a dream. It's something you would hope for that you don't get to do in real life.
Right. What about you, Sadie? What would you say?
I think I would say that although it's a time travel show, so there's the magic and the mystery and the sort of like edge of your seat feeling when you watch, that the thing that keeps bringing you back is the way that we sort of give away everything that you think we'd never give away, and then show you all the interesting and sort of emotionally rich things that led up to that moment. So it's not about it's not a show that we're trying to, you know, withhold all these sort of like big story points from you, but what we really do is have characters that you're so invested in that the most exciting part to come back for is how did we get there?
Right.
Not where we end up. And so I think that that's really cool. And especially because of the time travel piece, you're sort of working backwards because we know where we're at in 2025. So, yeah. And I think that wish fulfillment that you're talking about, Andie, that sort of, what if I could meet my mom when she was a teenager? What if I got 5 minutes with a grandfather I've never met?
Right.
I think we all sort of have that little.
I think it's a desire that you carry around, and a fantasy that you carry around with you, that you get to live through these characters.
Yeah.
Well, great. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Good luck with the show.
Thank you so much.
This was such a fun opportunity to get to talk with these actors and get to ask them questions about The Way Home. And I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you so much to Hallmark for allowing me to take part in this. And really, really appreciate it. And please let me know what you think about all the different things we talked about in the comment section or on Twitter. Please like this video. Please subscribe to the channel. I would really, really appreciate it. And if you are listening on iTunes, please leave your ratings and reviews. That really, really helps us a lot. Sure to check out the Patreon group. That really helps us so, so much. And we have our Q&A for January with Jesse Hutch coming up this weekend. So you really wanted to be a member. You can participate in really fun events where you get to talk to talent and get to be part of our Facebook group. It's really good. So please take a look at that. And then our merch store where we have Way Home inspired merch, which is so much fun. So please take a look at that. I would really appreciate it. And thanks again to Hallmark and to The Way Home, to the cast. It was really fun to get to talk with them. And we'll talk to y'all later. Bye.
We'd like to take a second and thank our sponsor for this episode of the podcast. It's the Hallmarkies merch store.
Are you looking for that perfect gift for the postable, Hardy, or Hallmarky in your life?
What about getting that t-shirt or hoodie that will help you stand out at your next holiday party?
Now is the time to check out the Hallmarkies merch store.
Full of festive designs by artists like Jessica Miller, Carrie from Hallmark Comics, and more.
You can even have more than just shirts, but totes, cell phone cases, notebooks, mugs, and more.
And it isn't just Hallmark. We have designs for Anna Green Gables, Man from Snowy River, The Nanny, and more.
Every purchase at the merch store goes to help support the podcast and allows us to make the great content you know and love.
There are frequent sales, so go to tpublic.com/stores/Hallmarkies or see the link in the description.
That's tpublic.com/stores/Hallmarkies.